What if I told you that the greatest threat to OpenAI's $100 billion valuation isn't Google Gemini, it isn't Elon Musk, and it definitely isn't government regulation. It's this, a piece of plastic and silicon that cost, or used to cost, less than a nice dinner. We are staring down the barrel of a $1 trillion margin collapse. The entire AI economy is built on a single bet, that renting intelligence from the cloud will always be cheaper or better than running it yourself. But that bet is failing. A perfect storm of open source software and, crucially, a new wave of dirt cheap Chinese hardware is about to flip the table. Today I'm going to show you why your $200 a month subscription is living on borrowed with time, and why 3 of the world's biggest chip makers are absolutely terrified of what happens next. For the last few years, we have been happily paying the IQ tax. You paid OpenAI because GPT-4 was Einstein, and everything you could run at home was, well, a toddler. But looking at the landscape in 2026, that gap is gone. With the release of Kimi K2.5 and DeepSeek-V3, we have reached parity. For most tasks like coding, summarizing, writing an article, the free models are now good enough. Actually, scratch that, they are exceptional. So why are we still paying? Because of the hardware gate. Software might be free, but running it used to require, well, a couple thousands worth of NVIDIA GPUs. You were trapped. You could have free AI, but you have to buy a Ferrari to drive it. So you kept paying the subscription, but what if the Ferrari engine suddenly cost the same as a Honda Civic? The first crack in the dam was Apple. They did something NVIDIA hates, unified memory. Instead of a separate, expensive video RAM for AI, the chip uses system RAM. Mac studios can now run massive models that usually require enterprise servers. And now, AMD is bringing that same unified memory trick to regular PCs with CPUs like Strix Halo, massive APUs that don't need a dedicated graphics card. They just need RAM, lots of it. But here's the problem. High-speed, high-capacity RAM is still expensive. To build a ChatGPT 5.3 killer at home, you need 500 GB, maybe 800, or even a freaking terabyte of memory. If you buy that from Corsair or G-Skill today, well, that's 5 or maybe 6K. That's a couple years of OpenAI subscriptions. The math still doesn't quite work for the average user. The architecture is ready, the software is ready, but the fuel is too expensive. Unless someone decided to flood the market with fuel so cheap it breaks the economy. This is where a story starts to repeat itself. Do you remember the smartphone market 10 years ago? Apple and Samsung dominated. If you wanted high specs, you paid $800. Then Chinese brands like Xiaomi and Huawei entered the chat. They didn't reinvent the wheel, they commoditized it. They flooded the market with high-spec hardware at razor-thin margins. They destroyed the premium pricing tier for everyone but the very top. That is exactly what CXMT is doing to memory right now. While we were watching the AI wars in Silicon Valley, China was building massive factories to produce DDR5 and LPDDR5X. For decades, Samsung, Micron and SK Hynix acted like a cartel. They controlled the supply, they kept prices high, they enjoyed fat margins. CXMT doesn't care about margins, they care about market share. They are the smartphone effect coming for your PC. Here is the threat. CXMT isn't trying to make the fastest RAM for overclockers. They are making good enough RAM. And for local AI, good enough is all you need. You don't need tight gaming timings, you need capacity. You need hundreds of gigabytes of space to fit Kimi K2.5's brain. If CXMT drives the cost of 128 GB of RAM down to $100 or $150, suddenly a 2000 PC beats a 200K server. That is the margin collapse. Do you see the picture for me? First, AMD and Apple give us the architecture to bypass NVIDIA. Second, Kimi and DeepSeek give us the models to bypass OpenAI. And lastly, China give us the RAM to make it affordable. This trinity is terrifying for the cloud giants. Why will you pay $200 a month forever, sending your private data to a server, when you can own a box that does it for you without limits, for free, privately, and forever? So, how does this play out? First, the losers, the legacy memory giants. Their premium pricing power is about to vanish in the consumer space, just like HTC and Sony Mobile vanished when the cheap smartphones arrived. And next, probably subscription-only AI companies. If they don't offer something truly unique, the good enough local alternative will eat their lunch. And what about the winners? First, AMD and Apple. They are the platform for this local revolution. And second, compute is becoming a commodity. This stick looks like junk. It has no heat spreader, no RGB lights, but this is probably the most disruptive piece of tech of this year, because it brings the power of the cloud down to your computer. In the next video, we are going to break down exactly how anyone can start building real wealth, no matter where you are starting from. If you want to master your financial future, make sure you are subscribed. See you in the next one.